you better do your job because no one can really help you. So
Yeah, and don't answer if you feel like it's going to get you in trouble.
yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one. I feel like maybe just because it is like Opals is the Opals. Hey, Coley, you ain't going to be doing this forever. Like, you better figure your shit out.
Bec, welcome to the Fitness and Lifestyle Podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. Happy to be here and have some human connection with someone else than from my gym at the moment.
I know it's awkward, isn't it? It's like next time I see someone out in public, I'm going to have to imagine they're on Zoom so I can be normal. It's going to be weird to go and talk to people outside of this. How have you been? How's you were touching on obviously just before we hit record, just recovering from a small op at the moment and getting back into some rehab and activation work and rebuilding those muscles again. So fill us in a little bit. What surgery did you get done, and what's things looking like for you at the moment in terms of training and recovery?
Yeah, so I just had a little clean out on my knee. I did like my first major knee injury when I was 19 at the AIS, where I did my ACL, MCL, meniscus all in one go. It was brutal.
Nice job.
So I think yeah, I did it well. So once you've sort of done that, I guess as an elite athlete, the amount we train and like load our knees, you're bound to get clean outs every now and then along the road. So I got one about, almost 2 months ago. So I'm super lucky that I have access to the VIS and I'm able to go in there 6 days a week. I'm in the gym, getting stronger, lower body, upper body, cardio on the bike, in the swimming pool, and then I can use MSAC to get shots up. So like I'm definitely keeping busy and just super lucky with this pandemic that I'm able to still do that. But I've never been more tired in my life than I have these last 8 weeks.
It's funny, isn't it? You, I mean, it sounds super cliche, but you really don't realize like how much you enjoy even just like the smallest things like training and getting up shots and stuff until you can't do it anymore. And then all of a sudden, like once you get the all clear to like walk or sit on like an exercise bike, you're just like absolutely cheering. It's like the best thing ever. And then the other side of that though is like within like a month or 2 months, it's like you forget about the fact that you've missed anything at all, and all the little things that you used to like hate before, you're just like, oh, I can't be fucked doing this again today.
It's such a mood. Like I think, especially as an athlete, those little things, like those 1%ers we need to do in order to keep us on the court and not be injured. But it's like, like you will never see a basketballer really that ever stretches or like, does activations all the time. But as you get older, you're like, no, like, come on, Coley, you need to go do that. Otherwise, you won't be able to run up and down the court anymore. So
it's good in theory.
It's funny though how all those little things like you miss it so much. And I think once you've had a massive injury, it really puts in perspective like what's so exciting. It's like you turn into a kid again. You're like, the first time you can jump or run, you're like, oh my God, like literally I will show anyone that's in this room that I could just do a double leg jump. Like, look at me do this. But it's insane. We just have started like unofficial preseason for the WNBL.
Yeah.
And I walked in with the biggest smile on my face because I was like, a team environment, like my best friends. It was the best feeling. So like, I just can't wait to get in and do that again. Because at the moment, a lot of your training is just by yourself.
Yeah.
And as a team athlete, it's like super weird. And I just miss my girls.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, before we kind of touch on the upcoming season and the rest of stuff I wanted to touch on, we'll stick on the topic of adversity. A really great way to start the show, nice and negative, which is fantastic. I wanted to actually ask you like how you deal with adversity, whether it be an injury, whether it be, obviously recently you had a few disappointments in regards to prior to Tokyo. And I remember seeing like your social media post at the time in the lead up to it. And although obviously it was, extremely obvious for anyone who's ever played sport or anyone that knows you or whatever, that the disappointment was huge. But I just love the fact that you were still able to take some positives out of it, still able to look forward and into the opportunities that you've got coming up, and understand that although it can be disappointing, that there is more things to life than sport, but also like there is more opportunities that will present themselves down the track. So what is your process around dealing with adversity, particularly when it's something as, I guess, major as some of the ones you've had recently?
Yeah, 100%. I think, and I think maybe my mindset's a little different to when it's like major injury to complete disappointment and like upset about, getting cut, not making a team,
Mm-hmm.
or like, winning a gold, that sort of thing. So I think when it comes to injuries, once I did my first major one, and I think I went through the process, I was like, okay, these are all the tools that I need in order to be okay and get through it. And I'm super lucky. My dad's an ex-Socceroo. So like he has this athlete mindset, and my parents I'm like this with, they're like my besties. And so if I need, someone to talk to, I have a real close circle, and they're really important, whether it's like, I need a shoulder to cry on, or I need to pull my head out of my ass, they'll let me know about it. So I think that's really good in that aspect. And I think what makes athletes, like, or yourself, who like you train so much, good at what we do, is that we're so determined and we're like a bit OCD in our habits. And I might be screwed, but I'm like, I have to finish this set, or I have to do an extra 2 reps. Like, otherwise I can't go home and leave today, sort of thing. So I think that's what makes us good at rehab and dealing with adversity. And I think in the end, like you said, when you go back to not being able to walk or you've lost muscle, it's like, okay, I appreciate my body for what it did before, and, how much it can improve and what it can take. And, like me at the moment, I'm like, I just can't wait to play ball again, scrimmage, be competitive. So you get to that point where you're like, nah, come on, just grind through, because eventually you'll get there. And then I think with the, disappointment side, like this year is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to go through mentally. So with Opals, which is the 5-on-5 national team, I was part of like the last selection to get cut. And then 5 days later, I had to go to 3x3 Olympic qualifiers. Like, that didn't happen. And it was quite hard. And I think I did a good job, but subconsciously that, like, I was still heartbroken, being like, cool, one dream done. Super lucky to have had 2 pathways to have an opportunity. And then we went over to the 3x3 and we were unsuccessful there, just due to that game is all about chemistry and playing lots. And we hadn't played since September 2019, and all of Europe, COVID's not a thing. So they looked good and we just looked real shit, to be honest. So then, then I'm in quarantine and I'm literally stuck with my emotions.
Hard enough as it is.
Oh, exactly. And I remember writing a post like 4 days later, and I almost used it as a bit of like therapy, in a sense, to be like, just let it out. It was like a journal, but for everyone else, I guess, to see. But I think it's hard because outsiders think my life is so easy. It's like I travel the world and have cocktails and play basketball, and it's like, nah, man, like there's really good highs and there's some serious lows, and like it's hard what we do, but we love it. And I'm super blessed, to be doing the sport that I love as my job. But that was like, I have really had to take some time. Like, I didn't want to look at a basketball. I didn't want to touch one. I didn't want anyone to ask me if I was okay. In quarantine, I didn't get out of bed for like 4 days. I was just like, nah, not okay. Luckily, I had my best friend after that were like doing F45 workouts every day. But it took me a while to be like, okay, all that sucked, but that's in the past. And like, we have a family motto, life's not fair. Might seem a bit like depressing, but it's just supposed to be like, not everything will go your way. Things happen, but like, you will be okay. And it's sort of just, I had to take the time away from basketball. And then like, now I'm so pumped and ready to go and use this clean out as a refresh, restart. And like, next year there's Worlds, there's Comp Games, we have our WNBL season. Like, there's so much to look forward to.
Yeah, I think that one of the important parts of that is, by the sounds of things, you did a really good job of it, is although as disappointing as it is, and you don't want to hear about basketball, you don't want to talk about it, blah blah blah, but like, it is still super important to at least acknowledge the fact that you're disappointed. I think a lot of the time when people have something go wrong or something that doesn't work out, they're almost like, and I've definitely been guilty of this, you just push to the side as if like it didn't happen, or as if you don't really care, or as if like you try and just ignore it completely without actually like venting your disappointment or like being upset or whatever it may be. But I think it's super important to actually let that out first, and then do, similar to what you've done, like then focus on all the good things after that, because otherwise it's always going to be sitting there in the back of your mind, or subconsciously sitting there like forever, and until you actually face it head on.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was pretty crazy because I felt like I had to relive it twice. So like we were in our misery in quarantine, but then when we got out and saw other people, it was like you lived through it again because you actually
Yeah.
had to speak about it.
Yeah.
But I think in the long run, it was probably a good thing. But it was like I had a breakup, like I got dumped a few years ago, and it was like that, but instead of a boy, it was a basketball. And I was like, geez, I have anxiety again. Like it was awful, but I think it's good you go through things in life because it gets you better at adapting and having a process of how to deal with things. So you can, be like, I am upset. I am really disappointed, but then have the tools to get over it quicker. So then you can move on.
Have you read The Power of Now?
No, I haven't.
I'm kind of like halfway through reading it at the moment. And like I can kind of get the gist. Obviously, I get the gist of what it's about, like already, like up to this point already. But it is very much on his topic of like, and like you should definitely read it.
Yeah.
Along the topic, along the line, sorry, of like as much as it was disappointing or whatever, like you said before, like if you literally focus on like today you got to train, you got to shoot hoops, you got to go do strength training, you're going to be, training with your friends soon, you got a season coming up, like there's no disappointment in that. Disappointment is behind you now. You know what I mean? Like if you can be as present as possible, then regardless of what you've been through or how good or bad shit's been, like that has nothing to do with right now. I think that can
No,
help a
I
lot.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
okay. I'm
awesome.
going to go buy that book.
On the I didn't get any commission off that either. Maybe I should start selling up there. On the topic of the 3-on-3, obviously that's relatively new to the world of professional basketball and like Olympic sports and whatnot. And you were one of the first to really do it. What is your thoughts around it? Like, do you enjoy it? Comparing it to the 5-on-5, obviously traditional basketball, compared to 3-on-3, which one do you prefer? And where do you see it going? Like, do you see it continuing to grow as a sport?
Yeah, I think I like have a real soft spot for 3x3 because there was a time where I just sort of come out of having an ACL. It had been like 2 basketball seasons and I just wasn't back to where I thought I should be. And so Dave Bewa, who's our Australian coach, I knew him through like a domestic team, and he was like, hey, just want to come play for my team. You can win money. It's fun, it's quick, just have a go. And I was like, yeah, sure. And the first game, it was like, gave me all this confidence. It's how I play, like explosive, athletic, like one-on-one. It's like such my vibe. And it just gave me, I think, my confidence and like love for the game back. So that was something that was really cool. And I guess I explain it in the terms, it's like rugby sevens or the T20 or like the fast 5. That's what 3x3 is for basketball. And so
it's almost
the
like a
rules are crazy. And it's so
scrimmaging feel, like after training with your mates, 3-on-3, like a bit of pick up ball, and even like watching it. It's like, obviously it's an extremely high level, particularly when we're talking about like Olympic level and national level and stuff, but it's still got that fun, exciting, like pick up vibe to it.
Yeah, well, this is what's funny. So my dad like doesn't love basketball. And the first time he watched a 3x3 game, he's like, I love this because this is so like a bit more exciting. And I can watch 4 games in the space that I would watch one whole basketball game. And it was just so funny. But I think I love 3x3 because it's what the vibe of sort of life is at the moment, whether it's like culture, lifestyle, like
Mm.
the music or what we're wearing, it sort of incorporates all of that in this game. And
Yeah.
if you play it, you're like, Jesus, I'm so fucking tired. Like, because you're giving 110% max effort the whole time. Like 5-on-5, you can find ways, you know, to have a rest. You're not always having to be on.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this, it's like you have nowhere to hide. And yeah, you have 2 other teammates, but like you better do your job because no one can really help you. So
Yeah.
it's insane, but I do see it. I know it's new for Australia, but this has been going on for ages in like Europe and other parts of Asia. And it's like the men, there's a world circuit tour, and they earn,
Yeah.
like, the Serbian men, they're amazing. They're earning bank. Like, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
The women, we only started a circuit last year, but again, it wasn't money based, and it was purely you're playing for your country rather than like making up teams.
Yeah.
So I think it's exciting. We're good at basketball in Australia, 5-on-5. So we just need more playing time internationally to get better because we are good. Like
In the
we're
the
number
3-on-3.
three,
Yeah.
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 Like we have won Asia Cups. We came, unfortunately, came fourth at the World Cup. We've won like these World Championship tours. So it's like we're good. We just need to play more because we don't compared to Europe. And it was in the Olympics now. It's in the Commonwealth Games next year. Like people need to know it's here to stay.
Yeah.
And I think for Basketball Australia, the next thing is just making it a bigger pathway, which the 3x3 hustle is doing really, really well to know, like to now let kids know not only do you have 5-on-5, but you have 3x3.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see at any point, or maybe it's even happening now, I'm not sure, players literally like dismissing the 5-on-5 Australian team, for example, and like literally just devoting their whole time to getting good at 3-on-3 with no intention of trying or expecting to make the 5-on-5 team?
Yeah, I think that will happen, but not for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Because like say at the moment, not everyone who's in the 3x3 squad is in the Opals squad.
Opal
So
squad.
I was lucky to be in both. And it's quite hard because I remember at the start of this year, I was doing an Opals camp for a week, and camps are so tiring because you're doing like 2-hour sessions a day. I'd have a week off back at home, then go to a week of 3x3 camp. And I did that like 4 times. And I was like, I'm cooked.
Yeah.
Like, bless. But but it is super tiring doing both. And I think once also there's more money in 3x3, like at the moment, you're not really earning any money doing it. So, and not as many people are playing. So like we play against, there's like probably a core 9 of us.
Yeah.
But
Is there any other
sometimes
girls
we're playing against
in both
boys.
squads as well as you?
So a new Opal squad just got announced. And so now there's actually a fair few of us. And I think that's the exciting part. 3x3 has really helped the game of 5-on-5.
Yeah.
So, anyone that you've seen play it, it just elevates their game and then it crosses over. And I think that's something that's really cool about the game too, that no one maybe really expected.
What happens there in terms of, obviously, like I'm assuming like the Opals gets first preference to the selection. Like I would imagine there wouldn't be anyone that gets selected for Opals that chooses to forfeit their spot to play in the 3-on-3 team, or I'm assuming you can't play both.
So like this is a really good question because like say if this Olympics happened and I made both teams, like I would choose, or I would hope that it was up to me. Like for me to choose each way. And I think this is where it's like a really good question is Opals, that's old school, and that like I guess has oh my God, what's the word for it? Like people respect it more, the game, compared to 3x3 at the moment. So if I made both and I chose 3x3, I think people would be a bit like, bitch, what are you doing? Like, interesting. But I think it will get to the point where it is up to you as a player what to do and how you choose. And I guess that's where it's hard, because it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna keep doing both till I either get cut or I
Have to make a
make both
decision.
and then I choose. And I think it's like, what's harder? Not really sure, but
I mean,
it's just awesome. There's two pathways.
it might be a tricky question, and don't answer if you feel like it's going to get you in trouble. But do you think that if that was to happen, and there was a player to make the choice to play the 3x3, that'd be like blacklisted for the next time the opportunity comes about to be selected for the Opals?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one. I feel like maybe just because it is like Opals is the Opals, and it's, I
Yeah.
guess, seen as the pinnacle,
Mm-hmm.
that I do think maybe they'd be like, oh, well,
Seen as
you're not
disrespectful.
really serious about it. Yeah. And the only time they've ever crossed over is the Olympics.
Okay.
Apart from that, like any other competition, whether it be in Australia or overseas, has never clashed.
Mm.
And I think that's something that's really positive, is like, cool, you can do both and not just have to put yourself in one basket. But Olympics is the only one now where it does clash. So it will be interesting,
Mm.
especially now that more 3x3 squad members are also part of the Opal squad. Like, what happens with that? And I guess
Yeah.
that's like a big question mark and an unknown.
I wonder if there's a way of doing it like where they have the 3x3 like starts after the like the 5-on-5 wraps up. Like if there's a way of scheduling the Opals game, like the 5-on-5 to finish, like the gold medal game to be done before round one of the 3-on-3, so that the
Yeah.
players didn't have to choose. Interesting. In terms of, I think it's fair to say that like most athletes, regardless of what sport you play, you know, you can kind of like respect or acknowledge other exceptionally good athletes in other fields and other sports outside of your own, particularly once you play at a high level. Is there anyone outside of basketball that you kind of like, I wouldn't say admire or idolize, but like someone that you like have a lot of respect for and kind of like watch their game, regardless of the fact that it's got nothing to do with basketball?
Yeah, it's like real interesting. That's why I really like working out the VIS, because everyone has the same goal,
Mm-hmm.
but you get to meet different people, learn about their sports and what they do. And it's something that's like really bloody cool. But I think there's a few sports. One, well, Kathy Freeman has always been an idol. That's like, I guess, past. I like absolutely loved her and what she did. And I grew up doing little athletics. And I just thought she was amazing what she did for Australia at like,
Yeah.
I guess, at such a young age and in sport. And then also like within her Aboriginal community, and how like that helped as well. So that, I guess that's one past athlete. But current, I love Sammy Kerr in the soccer. And I guess probably like, because dad played soccer, I have more of an interest in that. Like, love her energy. I think she's amazing. And I would actually love to see a footy training and like what they do one day. That would be really cool. And then I know, super random, but like Simone Biles, like gymnastics.
Yeah.
I always watch it with my sisters. We love gymnastics, probably because it's something I would never be able to do my whole entire life. I'm not flexible one iota. But just the way her mannerism is, like, and the
Yeah.
way she goes about her work and how she treats people. Yeah, of course, look at her. She's a damn athlete, and what she does, like, she's the GOAT of, you know, her
Yeah.
generation. But I think also the way like she comes across is something that I really admire about her.
Yeah. Outside of sport, obviously, particularly outside of basketball, is there anything that kind of like interests you, or that you like to spend your time on to just get away from basketball, when you're not on court or at training, to keep yourself occupied, or just something that you're super interested in?
Yeah, oh, no, I'm probably sort of a bit boring. I like super family orientated, and I find that just like refreshes me, like, you know, brings me back down to earth. So I love spending time with my sisters and my family. And I guess I'm a bit of a foodie. So like I love going to different restaurants, whether it be brunch or dinner, and having nice wine as well. I guess I'm not like, at the moment, I've been super lucky that I've been able to play basketball as my job. and it's been super busy.
Yeah.
So I guess I wouldn't say I have a lot of like hobbies besides like summer's coming, super excited to lay on the beach, be in a bikini. That's probably about all I'm known for in summer, besides training. Full beach bikini, that's about it. But nah, I think other things I'm like quite passionate about is media, like learning off other people how to make yourself better.
Yeah.
And just, I guess that's what I'm trying to do for my next step is like, you're not always an athlete. So like getting your foot in the door, and I guess,
Yeah.
that's something I would love to do.
I was going to say, so we had Megan Anderson. I don't know if you know Megan. She's the coach of the Firebirds in the netball team on the show. And something I was asking her about is like wrapping your identity around being an athlete, particularly like whatever your sport is. So obviously she went from a player to coach now, but even myself, like I don't know how much you know about like my story, but like I moved to Melbourne for basketball for like full time for like 2 years, and then eventually had an ankle reco and stopped. And then at that point in time, like in my mind, there was just nothing else. Like there was no chance anything else was going to happen in my life apart from playing basketball. So when it stopped, it was like, what the fuck? Like, what do I do now? And then also it was like even the mindset of like people only know me or like are friends with me or like hang out with me because I play basketball, or like that's all I've got.
Yeah.
And it took a fair while to like really get over that and realize that that's just bullshit. So like wrapping your identity around one specific thing, like, is there anything that you've got in mind? Obviously you touched on the fact that you enjoy the media side of things, but is that something that you keep, I guess, kind of conscious of that at some point in time, you're not going to be able to continue to play professional basketball and there has to be something else afterwards?
Yeah, I think going into that whole identity thing, that is like a crazy and epic, that's like a whole nother conversation. But you're right. I think going through a major injury, that like reality checked me to like, hey, Coley, you ain't going to be doing this forever. Like you better figure your shit out, because that's why a lot of athletes do have a bit of depression, or I guess like an identity crisis, because after sport, they haven't set up anything else, for after life, really. So for me, when I have my off season, so like out of WNBL, I guess that's when I feel like I have more time to network and connect and, I guess meet new people in places that I would, like to potentially work in, and say, could I do an internship here? Or like I've done some things for Fox Sports or the NBL people, and it's like you can keep learning. And I guess I'm super lucky doing what we do. It might give you, an extra edge because we know what we're talking about. But I know I'd be like super passionate and happy if that was what my job waking up every day is to like go speak about any sport. It doesn't even have to be basketball.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd be super happy. So I think obviously COVID's been a bit hard with trying to do all that at the moment, but once it settles down, that's like definitely something I really would like to do more of, before the end of my career.
Do you have a podcast? Do you have your own podcast?
No, I don't. Do you think I should do it?
100%. Yeah. 100%. Like I say this, I would literally say this to like, this is not to make you feel shit, but I would literally say this to fucking anyone that I speak to, like regardless of who it is, like fucking anyone. Like I just think, I mean, because in the end of the day, like even if you even if you make microphones, there's like a shitload of people out there that want to know how to make a microphone or are interested in that. Like I think there's like a niche for everything, but I think in your position, like as you said, you love talking about sport, you like the media, you obviously have a lot of knowledge around it, and you have a good following, and you're still involved in it. So I reckon like not only does it help grow your brand, but it just then gives you more of an opportunity to step into those media roles. And I think a lot of people would enjoy it. Like at the end of the day, I just see the podcasting as like recorded conversations, as in like so often I'll be like sitting with a client or on the phone to a friend, and we'll like start talking about something, and I'll be like, fuck, I wish like somehow we just had this recorded so we could just upload this, because so many people would be interested in like what we just spoke about. Yeah, you should definitely start one. I like
that. I'll think about that.
Yeah, for sure. It's easy as it's so fucking easy. Um, what was I going to say? Oh, I wanted to touch on like mindfulness and like the mental health side of things. Like I don't know how much, how involved in that you are. Like whether you have any like specific um, things that you like to do day in day out, like like a morning routine, a daily routine, whether you meditate or journal and things like that. Is that something that do you have any practices that you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, okay. I feel like I'm a bit of like a bit of yes and a bit of no. So I think when like the first major lockdown happened, um, I was living with my parents, and I guess I feel like I learned a lot off my dad. So dad was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma, and like that was real scary like a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And he's always into like reading and researching and like just I get growth, that sort of
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
And he really got into mindfulness and all
Mm-hmm.
that sort of stuff. So like him and mum, they do a bunch of these like breathing exercises from Wim Hof that
Awesome.
like
Yeah.
meditation vibes as well, in that they're gone for like 45 minutes. I can't do that because I'm just like can't sit still for more than like 10 minutes. Like I find meditation the hardest thing in the world. So
Mm.
there is different kinds of it, but dad also gave me, I guess, some self-help books,
Yep.
and I guess sort of a bit like Power of Now in
Yeah.
that vibe. And I think for me, it was like I read all these books and I took it all in. And then for me, I think it's more like setting goals is
Yep.
more like tick, done that, whether it's basketball related or it's life related. But I wouldn't say like I wake up every morning and, I sit down with a cup of tea for 10 minutes and just like chill. I'm not
Yeah.
that person, and I don't think I ever will be. But
Yeah.
um, COVID's, I guess, made me reflect a bit more
Yeah.
on like what I should be really proud of and what you can get better at and keep going. So I think mindfulness, that there's different ways to go about it. And I think I'm more like I write stuff down, jot it down, like, or it might be in a post, like how I'm feeling about, basketball, that sort of vibe, rather than meditation. In a group sense, meditation's a bit easier, or I guess because you're working towards a common goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably where I am in that sort of area. I wish I could be better.
No, it sounds it's good. It sounds like for you, it sounds more along the lines of like just making sure you've got clarity on exactly like what you're hoping to achieve and reverse engineering how it's going to happen, which in the end of the day is a form of mindfulness, I guess. Like it's clarity is something that a lot of people just don't have in terms of what
Yeah.
the fuck they're doing. So many people just on autopilot with no real direction or just following other people's goals that really are not theirs anyway. That's awesome.
Mm.
Before we wrap things up, I wanted to ask you about the upcoming season. So obviously, by the time round one comes up, you should be back to full health. Expectation for season ahead, obviously, championship, I would imagine. How do you see the next kind of 12 to 18 months going for you?
Yeah, I'm actually like really excited. I think because I was in a super down place for a couple of months. Now I'm past it. It's like, okay, just excited to be back playing team basketball. It's been so long, especially for Melburnians, to like
Mm,
play as a team.
yeah.
So we have a really good team. I play for the Southside Flyers. You guys should come watch us if you're allowed to. We play out of Daniel Basketball Stadium. So we won the championship last year, and that was like the best feeling in the world. I got a ring. It was almost as good as LeBron's, if not probably better. I wish. But I think for me, it's definitely make the finals, so make the top four, and then from there will be win the championship. So that will be the next, like in the first 6 months, my goal. And then after that, there's Opals World Championships, and they're in Sydney. And so I'm really hoping to get a go at that. And that would be amazing because it's in our country, and the fact
Yeah.
like hopefully things are opened up and you have your home support, like that would be sick. And then after that is the Commonwealth Games for 3x3. So, and that's the first time I would have been to a Com Games as well. So they're my goals for the next year. 12 months, and I guess just stay healthy. That's
Yeah.
probably also a positive. Look after myself, but yeah, look, I'm so excited just talking about that. So I hope I can make it.
I'm sure you will. Well, I think it sounds like it's a very busy but exciting, 12 to 18 months ahead and plenty of opportunity, which is awesome. So, look, thanks so much for joining us today. I think everyone would have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, particularly those that are interested in sport and basketball. But all the best for the next 12 months and with rehab and recovery and everything like that. And for anyone who has tuned into the episode, we'd love for you to take a screenshot of this episode and post up an Instagram story for us. Tag myself, tag Bec. Follow along with how she goes this coming season, and hopefully we can get you back on maybe after the season and you can tell us about how it felt to win another championship